Good morning, students. Today we begin lesson 8. This will be the last lesson in section 2, the history. Okay, right. I have already given this lesson as a kind of assignment for you. I told you to summarize everything. I hope that you have done it. So with that hope, I just go through this lesson. I'll just give you a summary of what you would find here. uh, I'm not going to explain everything. You need to read things. Okay, now the lesson as you see here is on democratic and nationalist revolution. So what is the meaning of democratic? So democratic, so it's an adjective of the noun democracy. So democracy, you know the meaning of democracy. Okay, so very simple meaning of democracy is it is by the people, for the people, of the people. It is the people who elect their leaders to rule them. Okay, so here we give importance to the citizens. So democracy gives freedom to the citizens to express their own views, to express their own concern about their nations, um, to help each one get involved in the development of one's nation. That's the meaning of democracy. Okay, in a simpler term. And what is a nationalism? So nationalism, very simple. We can just say it is a love that one has towards one's own country, one's own culture and language. Okay, so these two things, more or less, they go together. If I love my country, if I love my country, I do all my level best to safeguard the democracy. Okay, so love of a country will see to that we always want to preserve the basic value, the foundational values of our country. Okay, so mostly these two things will go together. But too much of nationalism, of course, in our country, this thing is a bit very ambiguous, and sometimes we are not really able to understand what we mean by nationalism. Okay, to understand nationalism in our country, we have to first of all understand our country. Our country is not something that has got only one culture, does not have only one language. Okay, so our country is blessed with multifaceted reality, we could say. There are a number of languages, there are a number of cultures, and true nationalism is actually to and uh, uh, respect and appreciate all the languages that we have in our country, respect and appreciate all the cultures that make our country richer. So that's the true nationalism. So here we are not talking about these two important terms, but rather we are going to talk about the revolutions. Okay, revolutions, it means a change. So revolutions happen because people want to have some kind of change. Now here we talk about democratic and nationalist revolutions, which means we see that people really want to establish democracy. Okay, why people want to establish democracy? Because people love their country. People love their country, and therefore they want the country to be really rich in its own culture, that no single persons can suppress anything. Okay, so that's what we are going to see here, and we will have we will have different examples. Okay, so first we will begin with England. The first part is England. The conflict between the king and the parliament in England. Very simple. This is okay, sir. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I'll just give you a clear picture of what was really happening in the 17th century England. We see England was ruled by king till it's a we see monarchical government there. But here, right now, what's happening in England is constitutional monarchy. There is a king and queen, but they don't have any absolute control over the running of the parliament. Okay, they are purely respected as kings and queens, as unity, we could say. Okay, so that's why we call it as constitutional monarchy. Now here, England had to pass through different struggles, different obstacles, different revolutions to establish this constitutional monarchy as we see today. Okay, so what happened? It all began with Charles the First. So he was a king, and what was really happening in the beginning was that the king had autocratic rule. He didn't want to consult with anybody, regarding the running of the country. Even though there were parliament, there was a parliament, and there were two houses. As you see here, there were two houses. Parliament was divided into two houses. One is the House of the Lords and House of Commons. Okay, so what's the House of Lords? In India, we have both Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha. Lok Sabha. So this Rajya Sabha, all those members of the parliament whom we find in Rajya Sabha, we call them as Rajya Sabha MP. Okay, so they are not elected by us directly, but rather we elect people who are here in the Lok Sabha. So it is these people who are elected by us, by our rightful votes. So what happens? These members in Rajya Sabha are elected by those people whom we have elected to be MLAs, MPs. So it is based on those seats they elect the members to the Rajya Sabha. Okay, but even though we don't elect these people through our rightful votes, but still indirectly, even our voting, it has got an impact of our presence in Rajya Sabha. Okay, so that's how the house is divided. The parliament is divided. Okay, so whatever bill that government is trying to push through, it begins from Lok Sabha. Okay, so government introduces a bill. Okay, in Lok Sabha. Once government passed that particular bill or law or any kind of changes or regulations in this house, Lok Sabha, then that particular bill is sent to Rajya Sabha. So there, the MPs who are there, they are supposed to have kind of discussions and debates on that particular bill, and they will approve that bill, and then it becomes a law. It becomes a regulation. Okay, it becomes an act. Same thing had to happen here. So it's based on this House of Lords and House of Commons we run our parliament. So this system was prevailing centuries ago in England, we say. Okay, but what really happened? This House of Lords consisted mainly on people who are very rich, who are very powerful. Mostly they were all church leaders, or mostly they were all feudal lords. Feudal lords means we could say small kings who control place. Someone has got some people under him to work for him. Okay, so he is a lord of a considerable amount of space, we could say, or the territory. Okay, so this particular House of Lords consists of these people who are very powerful in the society, who are called as elite people. But whereas in the House of Commons, we find people who are the representatives of the peasants, the farmers, the poor people. Okay, right. Now what happened? King Charles I never ever really wanted to give importance to this House of Commons. So it's the House of Commons that represents a poor man, an ordinary man in the country of England. Okay, whereas here in the House of Lords we find all big shots, elite people, people who are very rich, people who are very powerful, we find them here. Okay, so mostly what happens, whatever bills that king wants to pass through, it is very easy for him to get the approval of the House of Lords. and the king always wanted to please those people who are here in the House of the Lords. Okay, and what happened as a result? The poor people were simply suppressed in the society. Okay, so that gave a kind of turning point, we could say, in the political history of England. So people did not really want to keep this system. They wanted the king and the parliament to give importance to this House of Commons. That is the basic representations of the people. Okay, now this led to the civil war in the country. Then what happened? The king civil war in the country organized by Cromwell. Okay, then what happened? Now Charles I was defeated. He was beheaded, and then finally we have a democracy, so called the democracy in England. But still it did not last long. It was there for 11 years. Okay, but what happened? Orwell, who became the president of England, he just behaved like a king. He didn't want to consult with anybody. He was so rude, ruthless, we could say. So what happened? People thought, okay, we had enough. Okay, so let us move on to another kind of system in which we all work together under one singular authority. So what happened now? Here we find a change. Okay, that change is what we call as constitutional monarchy. So people once again they invite the grandchildren of who? Charles I. Okay, so Mary, the daughter of James II, and her husband William of Orange. Okay, so these two people are invited by the Parliament, House of Commons, under different conditions, that whatever taxes they want to impose on the people, whatever bills that they want to pass, it should always go through the Parliament. It should always go through the House of Commons. It should be accepted in the House of the Lords, and then it should become an act. It should become a law. Okay, so with all the restrictions, with all the terms and conditions, these two they become king and queen of England in consultation, in close relation with the Parliament. That's how we find the democratic establishment of a government. So that government is what we call as constitutional monarchy in England. Okay, right. So that's how we find the present the present parliament system of English government. Okay, right. Now here we should know one thing. Okay, the middle class and its political views.